Welcome everyone. This afternoon we are into the webinar. Today we are speaking on, and I'm going to speak and talk about, on fostering self-organized teams. And specifically we are going to chat about the power of working agreement. We discuss about this power of working agreement and see who makes it, what is it, when it is done, why it is helpful. Right. So we see that a self-organized team, and it's an agile team, how does it work together? How does it become self-organized? What are the elements that go into making a team a self-organized team? Collaboration. The team has to come together, collaborate, work on different items, sit together, discuss, brainstorm, agree to disagree, say no, say yes. That's how they collaborate. And the collaboration works well within the team if people understand the job at hand, if they all have common purpose. Second, collective ownership or shared ownership. They know that all the tasks in hand, the stories that they're taking, features that they're going to work on, everything is owned by the team, not by one individual. They become self-organized when they have a competition, they are healthy competition within themselves, and they also feel competition with the other teams. No matter which team, same business unit, other teams, and outside world, any team, they feel that they are the best team in the world. That's how they organize themselves. They feel competitive. Trust, they need to and they should trust each and every member, no matter what. It's something that they never break. It's something that they live by. It's something that they believe in. And respect. Respect is most important, no matter whether you have good amount of experience, you are a fresher, whether you are a technical person, whether you are a scrum master. Respect flows in and out all throughout within the team. All these elements and many more. I'm not restricting to these elements. All these elements plus many more, they'll help foster a self-organized team. Come to a few of them. I'm speaking a few of them. Say collaboration, collective responsibility, trust, and a sense of purpose. These elements, they enhance, they come together and they build what is an agreement between the team. And I remember, and we all remember that we all know there's a feeling within the team that they are okay to disagree. Yeah. But then they come together and they say that yes, we agree that these are what we are going to follow. Because unless they come together and they agree on certain aspects, they're not going to be successful. No matter whatever the principles of Agile, no matter whatever the practices of any particular methodology, whether it is Scrum or Extreme Programming or Disciplined Agile or Large Scale Scrum, or for that matter, Scale Agile Framework, anyone, doesn't matter. If they do not know how to come to agreement on certain aspects within their way of working, day-to-day working, sprint by sprint working, working with other teams, working with their stakeholders, they cannot be successful. That is very clear. And that also goes into fostering a self-organized team. So the working agreement is the most essential element for any team to be successful, to be able to reach its purpose. And that's where we come to the definition. It's difficult to define working agreement. It's so trivial, but a working agreement or ways of working, these are also called norms, team norms, is a set of guidelines that a team must follow in order to achieve its sprint goal or objectives. And let's talk about it. The team comes together is a set of 5 to 7 people, for example. They're a cross-functional team. They're talking about a sprint goal they haven't had with respect to the features they have, the stories they have. And then they say, okay, we are going to commit on these stories and deliver these stories by the end of the iteration. Now, where does this commitment go? This commitment goes to the product owner. We all agree. When we know this commitment is for their own benefit, they have to have some kind of ways of working. who will take what, how it's to be taken, who will work on what, who will ensure quality, who will ensure uh, the adherence to the coding guidelines, who will ensure the adherence to definition of done, when we will come together, at what time do we daily stand up. So all these they help the team. I'm sorry, just going a little ahead. Okay, all these and much more, they need to agree to. They need to come together and understand that without each of them agreeing on each of these items or many of these items, it will be a situation where they come and say, okay, I agree on this. I think this is how it is to be done. Other team member might say, no, I think this is how it is to be done. But unless they commonly agree, now this is what we agree together, we all, or most of us agree. I do not say that all team members might agree all the time, but most of them should agree on most of the items. So they say that, okay, we come together, we say that this is how, for example, just take one example. We start our daily stand-up at 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, one team member might say, okay, I come at 11 o'clock because I stay back till 8. The other person says, I'm sorry, I cannot work beyond 6. So I come at 9 o'clock in the morning. And so I like to have daily stand-up at around 10 o'clock because I need to know, I need to share with all my team members what am I working on. We cannot wait. Now, what do we do? We will have such situation. This is just minor one situation. You might be facing this situation. The other situation might be that, for example, in terms of product owner says, I've given you the story and I've explained to you what the story is required to be done. I explained to you what is required here. I explained to you why it is required. Go write acceptance criteria yourself. A team might say, okay, we cannot accept a story unless the acceptance criteria is given by the product owner. So you see here, there is a certain dialogue building up. We have gone through these situations. These are simple situations. These are day-to-day activity situations for us. There might be other situations as well. Getting a laptop for a new member in the team. It might take up to 10 days to get an approval and to get a laptop on board. Till that time, the person has no work to do. So there are certain things that we need to keep as a team, we need to keep in mind, we need to agree with. Why? Why? Because we have a purpose, we have commitment, and we are running back-to-back sprints. We are under pressure as a team. The management wants visibility at any point in time. And that's the reason why we have this agreement. Okay, so let's go ahead. These working agreement or set of rules or set of guidelines, a set of processes, set of principles created by the team. They are created by the team. They are owned by the team. But they are not created once. They have to first identify when it is going to be created. Now, I speak to most mature teams. I said, who initiates this? So who is going to create the working agreement for you? Scrum Master? No. We all know Scrum Master does not create working agreement. Okay, people say, okay, so who is going to initiate this working agreement? I can give you an example. The team says Scrum Master should facilitate this meeting. Okay. Scrum Master is there for facilitating ceremonies, taking care of impediments. You expect the Scrum Master to go ahead and say, okay, create a meeting invite for us to do the working agreement discussion. Yeah, might be possible. Why not? But don't depend on the Scrum Master. That's what I would recommend. I would strongly advise. Go ahead, do this yourself. You might use one of the ceremonies. You might use retrospective. You might use daily stand-up. You might need to create another meeting invite for you. But don't expect the Scrum Master to create this for you. I see in many forums, I see many people discussing, but I believe teams doing their own work. Okay, once, twice, third time. It's a liquid living document. It has to be revised time to time. Why it has to be revised? Why it is a living document? Why it is evolving? Because you experiment. Every sprint, every iteration, you experiment. You have agreed on something, you experiment with it, you see whether it is successful or not, and you revise it. And that's how you grow. That's how you mature. And very important, working agreement reflects the team's maturity. It might be that a team's working agreement is just about a few lines and it is very successful. It might be a team's working agreement has many lines, many statements, many such guidelines, and it is still not successful. Okay, you might have to define success. We might be digressing. Come back. Yes, the kind of items and the type of items are there into the working agreement will reflect the team's maturity. Yes, that's what it is. Okay, just an example of a working agreement. A working agreement, say version 1.2, the first time the team creates working agreement. It's an ABC team. All stories will be logged in Jira on the first day of the sprint. Good enough. Code review is mandatory for all stories. Before daily stand-up, all task hours are to be updated. That's a good one. I have seen teams doing this. Everyone contributes to the sprint retrospective. Simple. It might be for, you can see that this team, probably I can see this team, the first time they're building it. A mature team might not need to put this kind of working agreement into there, but it's an evolving document. So that means after some iterations, this item might be removed or put into archive. It is not required. All stories to follow definition of done without exception. This might be a long item, staying long. I can feel some of you are smiling. All stories to follow definition of done without exception. I think this is one working agreement that we need to be there for a long time. Interesting. Yes, this is where I talk a lot about working agreement. Let's broaden our horizon. A working agreement need not be within the Agile team. A working agreement can be created with any other entity. The larger the organization, the more number of teams, the more number of entities that you interact with, you can have working agreement. Now, I understand Agile team and the product owner, they are part of one team only. They are not separate. They're part of one team. Yes, agreed. The Agile team can create working agreement with architect, with the customer, with other teams as well. DevOps, for that matter. With HR as well. With facilities. I don't know. With the IT services provider team. You might say that working agreements with them already exist. Already exist in terms of service level agreements or operational level agreements, OLAs and SLAs. On top of that, you can have your own agreements. So it is good to have working agreement with other. It works. And then also you keep involving them. You might need to have separate discussions. I would say restrict to retrospective or daily stand-up. Call them in your daily stand-up. You might just need to have a daily working agreement just to have involve these people, all these entities, all the stakeholders in your daily stand-up as well. That's one of the working agreements. Yes. Okay, that's the question we answer. When do we create, revise, update the working agreements? Sprint retrospective, daily stand-up might be an interesting time. We might need to have a separate meeting or ceremony. We might do that. It's quite okay. Also, any of these are possible. Any of these are possible to have a working agreement. And I like to invite teams to have their own session. Wonderful. I leave these empty. I like to have some interaction from you. I like to know from you. Okay, categorize working agreement. Yes. Working agreements can actually be categorized. I'll give you a few examples here. The teams, when they start in the beginning, they tend to have a lot of working agreements. Because one simple thing, they might be facing a lot of issues. And then get down and say, okay, let's start creating agreement. We need to do this, we need to do this, we need to have this stand up at this time, we need to have code check-in before it is tested, we need to have coding guideline followed. We have this, that, everything you can just go on creating. We need to have a grooming session before we make sure that you're not creating a working agreement which is already a Scrum practice, which is already a well-defined practice. Because that is a Scrum Master's responsibility, that he or she has to ensure that such a practice is followed. You may not create a working agreement just to follow that practice. That's interesting. I have seen working agreements having the all 12 principles of Agile. They're not required. You need to have working agreements which help you achieve your goal. These could be just two statements for now. That we are going to come on time on the daily stand-up, and we are going to be on time for our we need to have our task hours updated before the daily stand-up. Two enough items, good enough, it helps you create good enough visibility. Other things are also important. Scrum Master takes care of that. But this is what you have agreed as a team. You might say that these are also the Scrum Master's responsibility to make sure. Then why do we have a working agreement? Such statements in your working agreement only ensure that you are committed to them. You identify, you feel that these are the ones which need to be there, which you need to follow, despite what the Scrum Master says. So you have agreed to certain things that you will do as a team. Adhere to it. And once you have done it, follow it, it becomes a habit, remove it. You can categorize working agreements with roles. Although it might not be a very good idea. A such and such role needs to do this, such and such role needs to do this. It's fine. Certain working agreements related to technical working, related to code review, pair programming, experimenting, TDD, BDD, continuous integration, delivery, all those aspects with DevOps, their involvement, their discussions. You can have working agreements between two teams to have sync up every 2 days. All those kinds of technical as well as flow related working agreements. But do ensure that your working agreement document does not become a product backlog or a working agreement backlog for you. Those are the challenges, those are the concerns that any team should have. That your working agreement is not a backlog for you. A working agreement is a check. It's a clear check for you that you are doing it and you must do it until it becomes a habit. So start with a few items. So if I might just tell you how to create working agreement, go back to your team, tell that we are failing on these aspects. We are maybe not able to follow these few simple procedures. Let's create a working agreement. Let's have a working agreement between you and me, and it's working agreement between our team that we are going to do this 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's do it over a period of next 2 iterations and see where we are. We followed them, we've done them. Okay, let's have new working agreement. What is new items? We can go on identifying these items. Can the working agreements come out of your retrospective? Yes. Can the working agreements come out of your sprint review? Yes. Can the working agreements come out of your daily stand-up? Yes. Can the working agreements be recommended or suggested by any other team or any other individual, any other stakeholder apart from the team? Yes. But finally, it has to be agreed by the team. So it is a team working agreement. Now, where do you put the team agreement? Where do you put this working agreement? You put the working agreement on your task board. You see it daily. Or you put it in a tool which you open. For example, you put it in TFS or you put in Jira, or for that matter in Rally. You create a story for that. But once you create a story, it is lost. It is some story. Put it on your task board. Make it visible. It should be there with everyone. Everybody should be able to see it every day. And please do look at it at every retrospective and see if you've followed, if you've not followed some items. That's the guidelines. Those are the things I would say about working agreement.